Did You Have To is a proud member of the Bawilo podcast community.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Did You Have To? And if you didn't know, we changed our motto. We're just two bad bitches talking about anime. And today we are reviewing the live action adaptation of something we've been talking about since the start of this podcast, Ace Attorney.
Objection!
I object.
As always, I'm Kate.
And I'm Nisha.
And we have a special... Oh,
and
you go.
Nope, you go ahead. Nope.
I'll do it. And joining them tonight is Carolyn,
Okay.
co-host. So here's what's happened with Lanisha.
Perfect. So much better than what I could have done.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the good thing is you've recorded with both of us, so you're a pro at this. You know we'll mess up and do this stuff. But yeah, I'm so excited for us to finally do this recording. I have wanted to talk about this movie for forever. One, because I love this video game that the anime is based on, but also it's just really fun that I get to yell objection this entire episode.
Rejected.
Oh, that will not get old yet. But probably, I apologize for the people who listen to this with the
So this is where we enact, if you're not in a car, just take a drink every time Nisha says objection. It'll be a good night.
Objection! Okay, I'm gonna cool it. So we can get, before we go any further, let's get into crunch time.
Yeah.
So you want to go? Guest, would you like to go first if you have any anime-focused things you've watched?
If somebody's listening to this first time, you should tell them what crunch time is.
My bad. Kate, that's your job. You do that.
Yep, so if this is your first time listening to Did You Have To, crunch time is the time that we take at the start of the show to discuss any anime that we're watching right now, any manga that we're reading, or pretty much just anything that's going on in the world of weeb.
And no, I have not read any anime recently or watched any anime. I do have a lot I need to get caught up on, though. Like I was telling you guys before we started recording, I have to get caught up on Neon Genesis, One Punch Man, Castlevania. Lord, I forgot the name of the other show. Good gosh. The same Cannon Busters. But for this Saturday night, we're gonna be we're gonna be live tweeting Seis Manos, which is on Twitter, and I know Kate loves, so we're gonna be like tweeting that for Saturday night Cypher. So looking forward to that. But no anime that I watched this week. But I did watch a few K-dramas that I got caught up on. Started a new one tonight in the midst of writing a review because I need to give my brain a break. So yeah, that's it.
What's the new one?
The new one is one called Catch the Ghost. So this one is a romantic dramedy. So and slightly thriller too. So it's about this rookie detective. Well, she's not a detective. She's a police officer with the Seoul subway system. So like the Seoul subway system is like the third largest subway system in the world, and they actually have their own police force. So to like monitor, because like they have 15 lines, which is like 300, and then it has like 300 trains or something like that. So she joined the train force, as I'm calling it, to find this serial killer who she suspects kidnapped and possibly killed her sister. So it's very interesting to watch everything, and it's hilarious. There's scenes that have me like laugh out loud funny, and the main lead is like really interesting, and he's cute too. Kind of reminds me of Hyun Bin from Memories of Alhambra. But that's it. And I've been watching Vagabond, and I finished watching the last K-drama that I completed was Graceful Family, which was amazing. Oh my gosh, that show is so good. Talk about fashion. But yes.
Nice. Well, you have a long anime list, so is the life of a weeb. So you fit in perfectly with us. Looking at Kate, if you finished watching The Promised Neverland.
Every episode! And I'm sure that Becca's going to tweet about this again to remind me. I need it, though. Keep sending them, Becca. Keep sending them. I appreciate it.
Yep, but it's fine. You busy lady. It's okay. It's going to be a year soon, but it's fine. It's fine.
No salt.
It's fine.
No salt whatsoever.
I'm not petty. I would just really like it if at least one of my co-hosts watched The Promised Neverland with me. I know it's about children being eaten by demons, but you know. I'm not petty.
Not an ounce.
Nope. But so I'll go next because I've been watching my guilty pleasure of anime, which is Lupin the Third. It all started with me watching the Count of Cagliostro on Netflix. So that one's on the movie's on Netflix.
The one where he calls him Wolf?
Yes, I did not watch the English dub. I just want to make sure people know. Usually I am not a dubs versus subs person. I hate those arguments, but the Netflix dub of Lupin the Third is terrible. It is peak cringe because the translators didn't even try. Like, they put it in Google Translator and said, "Oh, Lupin, wolf? You mean wolf?" Yes, that's what... That's not his name. That's never been his name. Ugh, it's terrible. And that's not even the original English dub. That's what makes me so mad. So I watched it I watched it the Japanese sub.
So they thought Lupin meant Lupine.
And it's yeah, it's a mess. I just can't. But I love that Hayao Miyazaki worked on that one because it's just like they're just so scenic and beautiful, and it's just like such a good movie. And it's like everything I love about Lupin the Third, which led me to watching, basically binging all of the Lupin the Third Part 3 of the series, like that iteration of the series on Crunchyroll. So I've just been really, really enjoying watching like problematic 70s anime with Lupin being the womanizer that he is, and then just realizing how many jokes went over my head and how inappropriate it was that I watched this when I was 10 years old. Yeah, but it's everything I love about like spy and like the whole like I don't know if film noir is the word, but I kind of feel like it's okay. So yeah, I would even give it that genre, and it's like also like capers and murder, like all this stuff rolled into like one anime series. And then I think of Lupin being the jumping point for a lot of things that inspired characters like Cowboy Bebop. Yeah. Like Lupin the Third has a lot of influence in a lot of anime, and it's like I just love that character type. Like he's goofy and he's funny, but he also has like this little charm and wit to him, but then it's also like the whole gang of people that surrounds him, and then they all bring something to the table, and I love this damn series so much. And I know it's problematic, but don't judge me.
I mean, they are making that new CG animation version of it, which looks beautiful. Yes. I didn't know that I would need it.
I didn't know I would need it either, but it's kind of close. Like, it reminds me of... Well, actually, since the Lupin one was announced first, I'm assuming the Scooby-Doo one was announced afterwards. But that kind of animation... I'm not typically a fan of 3D animation when it comes to, like, anime, because... they're not usually done well.
Ultraman.
They don't...
Ultraman.
Yeah. Ultraman, Saint Seiya. They just don't move as fluidly. But this 3D animation one for Lupin, it looks dope. And I won a video game for it immediately also. So...
It's just you driving in a car filled with money.
Yes! I get to live out my fantasy of just robbing the rich. Yes!
So to go off of tropiness of Lupin into anime with a character inspired by a Lupin character, Fujiko. Ooh. I rewatched all of Samurai Champloo. Yay! Which I forgot how. Not that I forgot, but like. It's been a good 6 years since I've watched Samurai Champloo all the way through, and it is still beautiful. If you don't know what Samurai Champloo is, it's by the same guy who did Cowboy Bebop. I think it's Daisuke something. I don't remember his last name. But in it, Mugen is a ferocious, animalistic warrior with a fighting style inspired by breakdancing. Jin is a Ronin samurai who wanders the countryside alone. And they may not be friends, but their paths continually cross. And when ditzy waitress Fu gets him out of hot water with the local magistrate, the three agree to join her search for the samurai who smells like sunflowers. It has, like, this and Cowboy Bebop, they do the thing that I love where you don't use music as just the background piece, but you actually make it flow into the story and flow into the atmosphere.
Yes.
And I found because there's 26 episodes, I rewatched all 26 episodes, and I found myself again being like, okay, does adult Kate want Jin or does adult Kate want Mugen? You know what kind of podcast this is.
What is the answer?
And
yes.
I couldn't figure out which, but I still think that Mugen has it, and I will continually go for Mugen.
That is the correct answer. It is always Mugen.
Yep.
But I have to ask you a more important question than that. Do you ship Fu with Mugen or Jin?
Okay, so.
Oh, we gonna fight.
No. Based on story, I ship her with Mugen. Based on selfishness, because I want Mugen, I ship her with Jin.
Okay, I accept this. This is fine.
I understand canon pretty much has her and Mugen good, but...
And all the fan fiction I read afterwards said they're together, wrote that, so that's what I believe. You shush. You shush. Don't expose me.
We did that on episode 2. You're exposed. It's out.
That's true. But no one knows what my author name is, and it's too embarrassing to ever utter because 16-year-old Nisha was trash. No, wait. 13-year-old Nisha was trash. Whew. Nope. But no, that is a classic series, and that's a good rewatch.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like one of those you don't have to watch every year. Like for me, I'm probably gonna watch Lupin the Third once a year, but I feel like Samurai Champloo is just like so unique and just it's good.
Because I had attempted to watch. There's 4 episodes out right now, My Hero Academia. But I need it all. So I watched the first 2 and I was like, I can't do this to myself. So I'm going to wait for it to wrap till I actually catch up.
Oh, yeah. I've been storing up. It's got about it's got a few episodes now.
Yeah.
You said
I think
4?
It's 4 right now. It's either.
Oh, I'm waiting. I'm going to wait until it's got 7. Then I'm going to start.
That's smart. But now we can move into our film because I have effectively brought Thirst into the conversation. And we have talked about what we watched. So those are the two first things that we talk about at the top of the show.
Yep. If we had a checklist, it's literally what did we watch, how we doing, and then thirst about someone, something.
Oh,
okay.
I would want to point. I got a message from Paige from Gilmore Ball Z, and she was saying how she was listening to another podcast, and she said, but it's not like listening to you and Nisha talk about Sace Manos. Like, she did man and then hyphen os. And I was like, yeah. Yeah. And I went to lunch with some of the animators over at Powerhouse. And first thing that they brought up was like, yeah, we loved it when you said you would hug Silencio with your legs. And I was like, oh God, literally all of you heard this.
I literally cackled when you said that. I was just like, I'm dead. And you just said it's so small, like, I'll hug him with my legs. I'm like, what, Kate? I'm supposed to be the one that's real thirsty? I'm kidding. No, we're both thirsty here. So, yep. I guess that's my brand on both shows. Carolyn, when we were recording, so here's what happened earlier this week. We're just like, oh yeah, we thirst here too. I'm like,
we do. It's what we do.
Am I a thirst fluencer? Is that a thing?
It's just what
thirst
we do.
Fluencer?
Like 3 thirsts away. We willingly walk into those thirst traps and say, well, guess where I found myself today. And it happens regularly.
True.
That was me watching Tune In for Love.
Listen, don't even start me. Don't even start me talking about Jung Hae-in.
He's
gorgeous.
It's going to turn into a K-drama episode.
That movie is beautiful, and I cried, and I can't wait to hear what
Have
you think
me
about
here
it.
biting my butt. Listen, you know how I feel about that man. Oh my, listen. He does earnest, sweet, serious, and badass so well. Like, he can switch from cuddly and soft to like, I will rip your head off.
The twinkle in your eye.
Listen.
I swear,
He does that in this movie.
Listen. Don't.
Y'all have had y'all K-drama.
Listen, you all know how I feel about him. Like, something in the rain, he was in something in the rain, and then he top tip in One Spring Night. There's a scene in One Spring Night, I am like, where he tells the guy, like, I give you one chance to mess with me. I will put you on your knees. I'm like, yes.
Such a good scene.
I'm like, he was like, I will put you on your knees. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes.
And then I was like, I'll get on my knees, but that's not what you mean.
I was like, I may have watched that scene I may have rewound that scene a few times. But okay, calm down. We might, you know what? I want to do a special K-drama. I want to do a special episode where we do, like, we do our top K-drama thirst characters. Like, definitely Junghae and Hyunbin. Gotta go with my boo. Park Seo-joon, Park Hyun-sik, and then I also
we can make this happen, and we just have to live stream it, like put a slideshow together of the men, so we can like put it on YouTube and be like, him, okay, give your reasons.
Listen.
I think people would enjoy that. The people would enjoy that very much. So,
I'm nodding my head in agreement.
all right. Oh. Oh,
so Ace Attorney though.
Yeah, that's what we were supposed
Ace
to talk about
Attorney.
originally. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's fine. This happens on the show. It's all good. We're on schedule. We're on track.
Like that
Thirst,
time
talk about
Jeff
things.
shipped you with
Thirst.
Dimple. So
No.
Who's Dimple?
Still have not forgiven y'all for that. No, we don't have to know. We can explain who Dimple is afterwards. We're not going
I'll
down
send you a picture when
that
we're done.
path. Because Jeff and Kate like to joke about my affinity for men with broad shoulders. That's
We
it.
shipped you with a man with broad shoulders, Nisha.
That's not a man. He's a ghost. It's not a man. He's a ghost. And he's a ghost slime, like Slimer. Stop.
He got muscles though.
Okay.
No. Anywho, Ace Attorney. Okay, so we watched the live action adaptation of Ace Attorney just to give you guys a background on the source material. Ace Attorney it started off as a video game, and then it was turned into an anime in 2016. So the anime is based on the first 3 video games in the series. Ace Attorney takes place in an alternate world where the court system has been changed to the point where trials are held in first instance courts. And they must reach a verdict within 3 days. Phoenix Wright is a rookie defense lawyer who works under his mentor, Mia Fey. When Mia is murdered, Phoenix befriends her younger sister, Maya, a spirit medium in training who can channel the spirits of the dead. Joined by Maya, Phoenix heads up the Wright & Co. law offices and stands up to defend his clients in court, often butting heads with several prosecutors, most notably his childhood friend, Miles Edgeworth. So that's just a summary of the source material and what that is.
And it is a Capcom
honestly,
game, which means there are also attractive men in it, because that's what Capcom does.
Yes. They do. They do a good job. Yeah, just ignore the hair. If you can just.
I'm good with that hair. I don't know what you're talking about.
The hair is funny.
It's the wig. I couldn't get past that line. That line on that wig. No. I couldn't.
Hey, you know what? We'll talk about it when we get to that. But of all the bad wigs that we have come across, this one at least knew they were bad.
Oh, and it was accurate. It was accurate to the source material, so I can't judge it for that. It's just so, not to get into too much of the wigs just yet, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the live action. So for the most part, from the summary I read from the anime and from the video games, it's pretty spot on. We open up with Phoenix Wright in the courtroom, sweating bullets, nervous about a trial where his friend Larry Butts is on trial for accused murder. And this is like, it's just like the same setup. It's the whole thing. And I liked how they opened it. They just like dove into them being in court already. And it's like just versus, giving us a lot of exposition and explaining how the court system works. They just like they just do it like in front of you and we see the trial. And then like, I kind of like that versus them having to go through it all over again. I don't know. That's just because I've seen the anime and I'm familiar with it. But for y'all, I don't know if you guys are that familiar with the source material as far as like the video games and the anime.
I am.
No.
Mostly the anime, though.
No, I wasn't really familiar. The only thing I knew about it because we had spoken about doing the podcast recording for it is because I had seen someone mentioned it before, like probably like last year, and I think you probably mentioned it too. And then I saw First Love at TIFF, and that film was written and directed by Takashi Miike, who's the director of Ace Attorney. So that's like where my knowledge of the film came from, because then you told me that it was an adaptation of a game, and my friend on Twitter was like, "Well, you have to watch this." He's like, "If you love Takashi Miike, First Love, you'll love Ace Attorney." I'm like, "Well, that's all. I'm sold. That's all I need to know."
Right.
Which, fun fact, this is the third Takashi Miike film that we have actually done on this podcast.
Yeah, he's done like 100
Blade of the
films.
Immortal. Oh, he was more than 100. They're a lot. Which,
yeah.
plug for Shudder. If you like, if a lot of people think Shudder is just horror, Shudder, the AMC streaming platform, actually has a giant selection of Takashi Miike's Yakuza films, as well as some of his more like not art house, but like more like grindcore movies like Audition and Ichi the Killer. So if you are interested in more Takashi Miike, you should check out Shudder. And if you want to listen to our other Takashi Miike episodes, you can go to the one where we did Yakuza Apocalypse, which that movie was a shit show. And
that was a mess. It had the potential. It had the potential to be more than what it was, but it was garbage. I'm sorry. Like the first half of the movie, great setup. That second half, they said, "Fuck the plot." They threw the plot out the window and just said, "Forget the plot. Don't matter no more."
Yep.
Sorry, this isn't that. We did this episode already. Y'all go back and listen to that one. It's a wild movie. It's just so wild.
And then you can
but
go...
the first half is good.
And then you can go watch the really, really long Blade of the Immortal movie.
Ooh.
Which is a beautiful movie. Just real long.
It's great. It's a great movie, but it is... they didn't have... I don't know. I don't know if I prefer it being split or... Because was it almost 3 hours? I can't remember.
It was over 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. We watched a movie that was...
epic.
Oh no. Yeah. But it was so good and spot on for like a lot of reasons, like costuming and everything. So I will give this man his credits where they're due when it comes to like source material and like accuracy when it comes to costuming.
Here's one of the things that's actually really interesting since he directed the film. Takashi Miike is like he's one of these guys or one of these directors who has genre hopped so much. So like I first came into him when I came into my very first J horror movie was Audition, and that was Takashi film, and that kind of started my love of Japanese horror. But he's also done stuff like 13 Assassins, the 13 Assassins remake, which is pretty much a shot for shot adaptation of the original 13 Assassins movie in 2010. He did that one. And then he did First Love, which is like a Yakuza movie filled with emotion.
It's a romantic Yakuza movie. Like, we don't get much of those.
And then he did...
I need to see this. I want to watch it.
I love that film. It's one of my favorites from TIFF.
It's one of my favorites from Fantastic Fest. It's real good.
Really good.
He's a phenomenal director, but I will say, if you go into one of his movies, read the description, because you should know that like he's capable of like real like high art, not a lot of gore, and then like heads rolling in the street. So if you have issues with either of those things,
First Love is kind of like that. It's not like heads rolling, but like there is like a lot of blood I would call it a lot of strategic blood.
The head rolls in the beginning.
And so heads do roll.
Yeah.
And limbs do come up missing. So there is that. But it's not done like gratuitous. I don't think, to me, it's not done gratuitously, but it's funny.
Yeah.
The way a lot of the scenes are, especially the scene with what do you call it?
The department store?
The store was freaking hilarious and awesome. And I'm like, this is the best.
And then that's like one of the really cool things, because then you go to something like Audition, where it's like this woman who essentially traps men and cuts off their feet so they can't escape. So like that's a completely different thing. And then you have something like Ichi the Killer, where that is like gratuitous gore, like as much as you can do. And it has like one of this Ichi, the main guy, he has slits in the side of his mouth that are pierced shut. And so they do this like really, he does Miike does this really cool shot where the guy inhales, and when he inhales from a cigarette, the prosthetic lets the smoke out the sides of his mouth. And it's visually stunning. But yeah, he's been everywhere with like 120 films under his belt. Like
prolific.
He's got a long list of films.
That's the best word to describe him, Carolyn.
Prolific. I think he does. There's an interview that I read in prep for TIFF. I think he says he does like 3 to 4 films a year.
Yep.
Which is madness, if you ask me.
Staying booked and busy.
And
It sounds like a lot, but I mean, if you love what you do, is it really work?
If you look at his Wikipedia page, he's been producing at least 2 features or at least 2 movies since 1991 every year. And then if you look in 99 when Audition came out, he has 7. The man had 7 films come out in 1999.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But he's like,
I can't even imagine.
He's a cult icon. Like,
do you sleep? That's my first question. If we like, okay, goal for the podcast: get this man on the show. And my first question is: do you sleep? Like how? Because you obviously have, when do you have time to sleep when you're making almost 3 films a year?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that being said,
yeah. But no, I was just interested to like, so Kate, you being familiar with it, and Carolyn, you saying like how you weren't familiar with the source at all. How did you feel like? I guess first off, sorry, I should say this. For y'all listening, you have to suspend belief with the court systems and how we know how they work.
Yeah.
Because again, in that summary that I read, it's not like actual court. Like the only things they probably have in common are like this, like objection, and
I will say what he did was kind of realistic because in this system, I can't remember the exact term they use for in the system, but where is like you have the instead of the defendant and the plaintiff facing off testifying, it's the defense attorney and the prosecutor who are battling out against each other. And they're the ones who have to present their arguments. Now, this is interesting because back in the feudal system in British system, like archaic court system, it was kind of like that. You had what you call trial by fire, which is basically like, and this is where a lot of common law is based off of. And the adversarial system is based off of, where you had the person who was the accused, they had to prove their innocence. And sometimes part of that is like they had to actually they had to win arguments, and they had to like, and then there was this part where like if you drowned, you were guilty. Like if you drowned, like what? Or if you win a fight, if you had someone, and like there is kind of like referencing Game of Thrones to where you had somebody like fight for you. Kind of, and that is kind of that situation. So like when I saw that, I'm like, you know what? Technically, this did happen back in the olden days of the court system before it became civilized.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
and it also like.
But I thought the way they presented their argument, I thought it was interesting where you don't have the defendant and the plaintiff doing. You have the attorneys battling out there, like basically like boxers in a ring. It was like verbal sparring, which I thought was hilarious, which I actually love. So like that was interesting for me.
Right.
Yeah, and so like the system so essentially what happens if you're not familiar with the Ace Attorney world is like there's so many crimes being committed that they have to like streamline the process, and so they do the bench trial system, which is actually the name of a system
bench trial
of a trial type that happens, which is a bench trial. And so the difference in a real world bench trial, the difference is that essentially the judge judges your case. It's not the jury. So it's you remove them from it. It's not like what it is in the movie, but it is at least have like the same name and kind of like concept of like you have to prove your case in a very different way.
Yeah, that's the term, bench trial. It was like, no, it's trial something. But yeah, it's kind of similar. And it's kind of a thing because, so you remove the jury. This is so, and if I was reading from Wikipedia, so like Phoenix, he actually does introduce the jury system into that universe later on down in things. So that was interesting to me. But but then the problem comes where like, with this, because they have 3 days. And like, you have this amount of time to present your argument and present your case. And and it doesn't necessarily only rely on evidence, it has to do with how well you argue your point, right? So that's the part where where Phoenix cracked me up, because you could see like there's moments where he's like he's like digging, and those he was like you're like he's gonna lose this case because he's like having a mental block. And that's utterly ridiculous. Right. It's not that he doesn't know the thing, but it's like because he can't think of the answer in that moment. It's like, well, I guess you lose this argument. Henceforth, your client is guilty. Madness.
Right. Right. But it's so funny because like even in the game, it's like it gives you like the options to choose. Like, okay, think of the most plausible reason. So like him coming up with like, anyone could have been there. There could have been some. How do we know that it's them specifically? And then they have to accept like, okay, the court has to consider the theory that there was a different person and not the person who's on trial that did it. And it's just like that's basically. I mean, at some point, you know, I like like TV law shows and everything, but like ultimately, that's a thing that lawyers do. You have to present your case, but you also have to present other possibilities to the courtroom as a way to prove your client's innocence. So, but I love that the actor who was playing Phoenix is just like really good at those facial expressions. I'm just like, hold on, let me try to figure something else out. Like Phoenix reminded me of just like, yes, this is me when I like have a meeting and I know the answers, but I'm struggling to say the answers. But that was just like so
he was
good.
I actually kind of related to him because that's kind of like me with my when I have my cock fog. It's like it's like that is like the answer's there, but like you can't find it and you don't know how to say it. And I'm like, what is happening? And it's kind of like a writer's block too, where you're like you want to write and you're like, but it's all stuck in the back of your head and you can't get it out. And it's like, you're straining. Like somebody give me the answers. So it was funny, but it was actually kind of relatable too.
Right. It's good. But yeah, yeah. So I think that's like the whole thing though. Like people like just when you just being able to suspend the belief with this series as a whole and going forward from there. But it's just like it's so good and like it like hits on those comedic tones. But I forgot that people be like actually showing up to the courtroom like it's a concert. Yeah. Like how they be he's like, oh, I bought my ticket. I'm like, you paid money to be here for this court? Like for this case? Because it's in that courtroom
because it was a big case. Because you remember at the beginning, it starts out with Phoenix. His first case is held in like the back room of the courthouse. So like because it's a small time case, so it's like not that important. It's like he's back there with the cleaners and everything, and then like he gets to the big case. So then it's like inside the big house, which is actually again kind of I think a call back to how the court system was back in the day, because especially for North American court systems and for European court systems, like when the court system first started, a lot of it was held in like places like bars, right, or like whorehouses. Like they would actually hold courts, they would actually hold trials inside of a bar, and the judge would go from go from circuit court. That's where it came from. The judge would actually travel from town to town prosecuting cases. So like when it started out with him in the back room, I'm like, this makes perfect sense to me actually.
Right. Oh yeah, and I guess it's another thing that I like. I liked how they built out more of the world. Like the anime does it, but then it's also just like from the video game, it's not as built out. Like as in the anime and the movie, but like they build it out more of like showing how much people are very much. It's very black and white for the court system in this world that they live in. Like the one woman who is like the witness at the lake, she's like, oh, you're a defense attorney? You must defend criminals. You're on the bad side of the law. I'm on the good side. I'm going to go help the prosecutors. And I should go do this. So it's kind of like, you see how much like people were like are so like interested or like really into like how the court system plays and impacts the other things around them. But like that's to the point of like what Kate said, like there's just so many crimes happening at a rate that this is why the court system is such a huge deal. Like they're treated like they're superstars.
But isn't that like the same
point.
thing that we do now in like society anyway? Like you have like those those big court cases get like media coverage like crazy, and it is treated like a circus. It's treated like an event. Right, so it's like it is anime, and it seems ridiculous watching it on screen like that because all these people because of the crazy hairstyles and the costumes. But if you take away the costumes and the hairstyle and you put them in, and if you were to put them in like a court in like a show like on All Rays or in SVU, it would as literally be an episode of SVU.
True, it could be similar. Which, sorry, I have to plug this. If y'all have not seen it yet, please go to YouTube and watch Real Lawyers Watching Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. It is hilarious because it's just like watching doctors watch Grey's Anatomy. Like that doesn't happen. That's not how it works. And it's just like their reactions.
I have to watch that because that
so
was me
funny.
watching the film. Like watching it, I was like, that will not happen. Like the way people present stuff and then leave the courtroom. Like witnesses were like, I said what I gave percent. I'm out. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think too, so like one of the, I try not to be one of those people that's like, I was almost a lawyer, but all I did was take like a couple of classes. No. So, but like, I don't bring it up too much because it's not the path I chose to go to in life. But in college, I actually took my LSAT. I sat in on law classes at UT. And one of the reasons why I decided to not pursue law, because one, I was going to go into criminal defense and like civil rights stuff, which is like there's no money in it. I was going to be real poor, and I had been real poor all my life, and I couldn't do real poor again. But also I found out that like 90% of all of that isn't actually court. No, it is just filing paperwork. And it is just making, like, even as a defense attorney, where essentially you were defending an extreme amount of clients, and like, hug a defense attorney, like those people are overworked. Like public defenders, they are overworked to hell. Yeah. But the bulk of that work is filing paperwork or showing up to court to just be like, yes. And then go. Yep. Like, there's not a lot of arguments that happen.
Exactly.
And so I was like, not that I don't still love this, but I'm just going to go do this thing because this is like...
You're like, TV lied to me.
Exactly.
Right. I can tell you because I did paralegal.
This is not what Novak did in SVU.
Exactly, because I can see because I got my diploma in paralegal studies, and like when you do like all the different courses and stuff, you realize a lot of it is administrative work. A lot of it is the legal secretaries. A lot of it is the law clerks. Like when you watch TV shows like this show, like it's all about being a lawyer. I'm like all the courses is the court system and the trials, everything's a lawyer. I'm like, nah, you need to be paying attention to the clerks. You need to be paying attention to the legal secretaries. You need to be paying attention to the messengers. You need to be paying attention to the it's the people in the background that are actually doing most of the work. Like Clay said, especially for public defenders, they go up there. Their job is to say, okay, I'm here to represent my client. Okay, are we gonna have a acquittal or not acquittal? Are we gonna have if it's a misdemeanor, you're gonna plead down, or you're gonna try and make a deal? Most of it is like striking a deal, pay fines, and out of the room. Right? So it's
like I was like the first law class I sat into that my last year was a torts class, and I was like, I don't want this paperwork.
Tort law. Common sense law. That's my kind of common sense law. Tort. That's where it was gonna do most of my stuff. Like, don't give me all the rest of the stuff. Like, give me common sense.
I'm not built out for torts, but I do have a friend whose entire specialty is contract law.
I like contract law.
And that's all she does.
Contract law and like that kind of stuff. Like criminal.
I want to go into marketing law.
I could,
but that
I couldn't do criminal because like one of my teachers he was like, you can't do criminal law. He's like, you would cuss the judge out. he straight up told me that because he'd be like, if you know that some issue's going down, you'd be straight up tell the judge like, yeah, this ain't right. And he's like, I would not recommend you for criminal law.
So like one of the weird things I heard from one of my from one of the people who had interviewed me for UT, he was like, I'm gonna be honest with you. you're too passionate for this. And I was like, what do you mean? You need the passion. He's like, no. He's like, you're not going to be able to present things. And he's like, and if you are, the court system will crush your passion. He's like, like, it takes a special degree of, like, maneuverability and, like, honestly, like, what's the word for, like, not a pacifist, but, like,
you need tact.
Tact,
you need
yes.
tact, and you have to be able to,
and
like,
the ability to know when
yourself,
to,
and you have to
like,
be able to muzzle yourself, which I'm like, nah.
Yes. Yeah, so then instead I went to go do a PhD, which I left anyway because I couldn't muzzle myself.
Look at where I am. I'm doing film
and
criticism.
now I do none of that.
Exactly. I have a diploma and I'm doing film criticism.
Exactly. I'm like,
deferring all of my,
I don't do that.
I'm deferring all of my payments for school because I'm like, you will get the money when I have it. I don't have it now, so defer payment.
That's exactly what my husband's doing.
Work. Y'all doing, that is what you're doing. That's the right thing to do. Defer.
Defer.
I wish I could. Defer. That takes work to defer stuff. So
which
y'all
reminds
do
me,
the
I
right
have to
thing.
update my deferment and do it again this week. What? I have to send in the form.
Don't wait. Get that in. But I want to add something because, like, so a big thing about Phoenix, that I always like for him as a character, is since he's a defense attorney, like you guys were talking about, like how defense attorneys, like as we know them, like they're very much overworked, or like they, like how much of their time is just like spread thin. But he takes every case to heart. Like he does, like he actually fights for justice. Like he doesn't want to just like have his clients plead guilty. So I liked how like they really focused on that with it, like in the movie, with him focusing on like, no, we're fighting for the truth. Like if you didn't do it, then I believe you. If you said you didn't do it, I have to believe you. And it's like, it's not like he just gets Larry, like in the first court case, like he knows Larry didn't do it, not just because he's his friend, but because he trusts Larry. And the same thing when it's like, so in the movie, again, y'all know what the kind of podcast this is, we give spoilers. When Maya dies, when Maya is murdered, and he comes like to this, and like that whole thing happens, and he's just like, it's not just about proving that her sister didn't do it, it's about proving who the real murderer was. Yeah. Like it wasn't about just proving that, of course he's like, your sister didn't do it. But I did yell him like when he walked in and he grabbed the steps.
Exactly. It was like, stop. Come on now.
Fingerprints. It's like fingerprints, like, man. And I thought they were going to take the movie another direction. I really thought they were, because he touched it. I'm like, stop it.
I know. I thought the movie was going to be about him trying to prove his innocence as well as hers. And I'm like, they kind of like switched it up completely, where they're like, nah, we got a witness. It wasn't you. Put it down. And I was like, yes. I'm like, that hardly ever happens in a film where they're like, where it's like the cop was acting as the audience. He was like, come on, dude, let's be real. It ain't you. It's someone else. He's like, he's like, why would it be you?
Right.
And I love that. But yeah, when I saw him take up the statue, I'm like, come on.
But like how that's set up. Yeah. But I think that's what I've just like, I really like about that's why I like the game so much, and why I've always liked the character and then the anime and then like how they did this movie. So, I was trying to see if there's anything else we specifically wanted to talk about the movie. Do y'all have anything, any notes or anything you want to comment on the movie overall before we get into like discussing the set, the characters, what we like, didn't like?
A lot of my stuff is characters.
Yeah, well, kind of went off of what you said with him. But what I love about Phoenix too is he's very principled in the fact that it doesn't matter who the person is, because even like when we get in later, like the main culprit of everything is this other attorney, and he's not doing anything out of like a personal benefit, whether or not he likes the person. He's like, no, like even if you're a crappy person, there's no reason why you should do this, right? And like with the same character Red White, he was like, you're a shitty human being, but you deserve to we deserve to find out who killed you too, right? So I like that he's very principled. And he sticks to his convictions, but he's also willing to listen to other people too. Like for Maya, he doesn't discount her her advice. He listens to her, and even for Larry, like there are times where he needs help, and he has no problem going to Larry. He's like, "Yo, look, let me this. I need your help. Like, tell me what do you think I should do?" And like I like that, right? He doesn't let his position or his position as an attorney make him think that he knows better than anyone else.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things too, because it keeps him likable. Because like I think one of the reasons why we end up hating like attorneys and like different pieces of media is because they refuse to listen to anybody else. Like they know what's right. They got that piece. And I think you're 100% right. Like he's more like he's gonna stand strong in what he believes, but he's open to you showing him otherwise, or he's open to like engaging in that conversation. I 100% agree with that take. And I think it's one of the best things. It keeps it really engaging too, because that's one of the things I hate. Like I love smart characters, and I love like willful characters. Like I love them, but they're so easy to get wrong if you push them too much in like this is the only thing that matters, or it's only me. And so I think that that's one of the things that keeps you engaged throughout the film.
Yeah, I think the thing that I think this is something that a lot of writers and a lot of directors of films of any genre miss a lot, is that you can have smart characters who are also empathetic, because they have this thing where they have people who are smart and they have to be douches.
Yep.
I'm like, no. Yeah. Just because you're smart doesn't mean that you have to be cold or standoffish or be a jerk to people. Like intellect intelligence has nothing to do with emotional intellect, right? So it's like, smart. I think I'm a smart, empathetic person. The two of you are smart, empathetic people. Like, why can't we see this more in TV shows, especially with female characters?
Yeah,
I want smart, empathetic characters, people, and I think Phoenix is like that. Initially he comes off as a joke, but then when you look at him in hindsight, he's a very smart and a very empathetic person.
Yeah.
Right. You're right, because he does consider things that other people overlook and, like, don't pay attention to. Like, looking at the prosecutors that they went up against, like, what's your point? What are you saying? You're just making excuses. And it's like, no, this matters. And it's like, we can get in, I guess, specifically when we're talking about that bird. Yeah. When the bird takes the...
Yes.
When the bird is...
I was like,
and I was really like, hold on. Do I remember this being in the game? Like, did the bird actually go to the stand? But it's like, of course, this would never happen in an actual court of law, but it's because he looks for the clues. Know. He looks for the clues.
A bird could be a witness, because as you saw, he was repeating things. You never know. You never know. But the part of the scene, you know what was killing me about that scene? Is like, you get random feathers falling from the sky. I'm like, where the hell are these feathers coming from? The bird is on the stand, but you have feathers falling from the skin, falling into the scene. And I'm like, what's up with these feathers?
Sorry, I just spilled my water.
You're good. No worries. But, so yeah, if that's all y'all have on the, just like the movie, like what we've discussed, we can kind of move into like the characters.
Yeah, and set design.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh god. Yes. The set design. So yeah. Let's do set design first. So Kate, you take it away.
Yes. That court design is beautiful and grand and just epic in scale. It really strikes that balance between not overpowering its characters, but also giving you the feeling that you have when you're in the video game, and everything is blown to such large proportions. It's beautiful. Yeah. And then the way the characters interact with it is what I really really like. Like the my favorite thing are the holographic screens that come up.
Yes.
And so, like, where Phoenix slams his hands on the table and then throws it out, like, that's just great. It adds an element that makes the environment, it's not just there. Like, the environment becomes a character, too. Like, the courtroom becomes a character that is also playing along with everybody. It's really, really well done.
Yeah. I love the set design, too, because it's very, it's very different, because and I think this is something very common in anime and manga, where you have, it's like this steampunk feel, but it's also set modern and futuristic tones at the same time. Because like, if you look, the court has a very European feel, which I think is a very something very thing in very common in Japanese mangas is like a lot of like architecture is like European, especially like from the 18th and early 19th century, and the courtroom is like that. So it's like an old courtroom, but and then the uniform and then the costuming is matches the era. But then you also have people coming in wearing clothes that were from the time, because the film came out in
2015?
2012.
No.
So yeah, so they're in the fashion of that time, and some people even had on what we would call futuristic fashion at the same time, and you have people wearing like all kind of colors and stuff, and it was weird and interesting to see. But like, yeah, one of my favorite things in the film is like with the projections, like you have the holographic screens coming up, and like the way like this like different hand gestures, like they snap their hands or they even speak, and like things would appear. I'm like, who's operating this stuff? Show me the person or the computer operating these projection screens, because then they mention things and the evidence would appear. I'm like, where does this evidence come from? He just came up with this idea. What? And I'm like, oh. Right. But it's so funny. But I'm like, I would be like, that would be a great thing to see in an actual courtroom, though, or even like a classroom where you could just like project your work like into thin air, and then be like, here's my presentation. No more need for old school PowerPoint with a flash drive. Just put the paper on the table and it projects up onto the screen randomly. You're like, you think a thought, and like, there's my evidence. My case has been presented.
Do you know how much fun I would have if I could do that in real life? And I could just like, but I would also want objection to appear above my head when I do it.
It's so funny.
Oh, it's just so good. But yeah, I agree with everything about like just the set design. I definitely liked the element with the whole like holograms, like doing that. I think that was very smart for them to decide to present it.
So it's not like that in the game? Because I thought that was a game element.
No, actually, in the game, it's different. And it's only because, like, you as the player are seeing everything on the screen. So I imagine that's why they did it that way. Just like in the game, you would see the evidence, like, appear to you, like, on a slide. Like, okay, here's the evidence, here's the letter, here's the photo. You look at it. So just like how they presented it to everyone there. Like, they show it so the whole court can see. But, like, you, the player, can only are seeing it.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
So they kind of like worked in like the front piece UI that's real to us, and like worked it into the world, which is actually it's a really cool nod.
It was great touch. And then I especially liked how like when he used that bullet, like he threw the bullet up in the air
and scans,
and like that kind of stuff. And it catched and scanned it, and I'm like, Phoenix, like, what did you get all small? Like,
and that's the other thing about his character. Like his character, he becomes more sophisticated as the film goes on. Well, a little bit more sophisticated, not too sophisticated, because he's still his like goofy self.
It's his confidence also.
Yes,
because, like
he starts to carry himself differently.
Right. It's like I like that, and I always have griped about this, but I know it's because it's a part of the plot. But it's like because Maya's death really impacted him, because Maya was his mentor, and it was always also kind of hinted at that they might have had something more. So I mean, maybe this is just me being a weeb and shipping things that I see together.
Pause. I need to know.
The whole thing is just like Maya.
No, I just need to know, what exactly is a weeb?
Oh.
Sorry.
So a while ago, how do I explain this? Okay, so otaku is what is Japanese for essentially like an excessive fan. And so back when Nisha and I were first in anime, otaku is what we would call ourselves or what we would ascribe to. As it's moved, there was a derogatory element called weeaboo. And the weeaboos are the dudes, usually dudes, who are like too much into it and like toxic because of it.
Okay, so
and then from weeaboo came weebs, who are just people who love anime.
Okay, I get because I know about otakus. And like weeaboos, I guess that's similar to like Koreaboos. So Koreaboos, there's like the super Korean like K-pop and like fans of like Korean culture. Like they take it to like a whole other level, almost to the point of fetishization. So yeah, I kind of okay. So
yes, that's a weeaboo, 100%. Like the weeaboos are walking around with their hentai pillows, of like
Okay, so
yeah, and then weebs are just like Weebs are now otaku, essentially.
Okay, so like me, so I would consider myself. What would I call myself? I'm like I'm a fan of I'm a fan of like Asian culture, anime, TV shows. I'm a fan of culture. Okay, so continue. So go back on track.
Sorry, I guess we probably should have explained what weebs are a while ago, in case for other people who
No, because I had to ask because I saw someone else. I saw a couple of my other Twitter friends say the same thing, and I'm like, "What the heck is a weeb?" And I was like, "Okay," I acted like I knew, but I'm like, "No, I don't know." So I had to find out.
Yeah, and it's also like so weeb does, how to explain it? So otaku is just anybody who is like a nerd that way. So like that gets used in Japan. Weebs is specifically in reference to anybody who isn't Japanese who thinks that.
So yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's derogatory, but like weeaboo is probably weeaboo's the ones that are like kind of like you said, the Koreaboos. Like there's they out there.
Okay.
We stay away from it. That is the shadowy place where we don't go.
That's like when Mufasa told Simba to stay away from stay away from the darkness.
Yep.
Everything the light touches is ours, but beyond, stay away.
Yep.
I will make that meme and post it so y'all can use it as a diagram moving forward. So we were talking about Phoenix and his confidence, but yeah, I think like the whole thing with Maya's death. Ooh, I cannot talk. Death and everything happening, and then like you kind of see him grow with confidence. But I kind of like that because in the game, I hope y'all didn't think it was weird, like Carolyn, because you're not familiar with the game. But like her ghost does show up in the game, like the whole thing with her possessing her sister and using her sister because like their family, they come from a family of like psychics, mediums, So that was fine, and it's just like I know, like when I was watching it, my sister was with me. She was just kind of like, "Wait, why is she? Ain't she dead?" My sister's like, "Ain't she dead? Why is she there? She's supposed to be dead." And I'm just like, because it happens in the game, and it's just like I realized.
Oh wait, you guys are paused
again. For
again.
someone who had not watched the game, it's kind of weird to see a ghost.
Oh, no, you're paused again.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'll wait.
Can you hear us now? You good?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Katie's moving her head back and forth.
But
yes.
So I guess we've talked. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about Phoenix. But what were some of y'all other characters that y'all liked, or your comments on other characters?
I just loved their designs. Like we've talked about it on the podcast before. Like there are some times where if you go hard in on what the anime had, it misses the mark because a lot of the times they try to go hard in while still trying to make it like seem real almost. But then you have the going hard in and they know exactly what they're going to be, kind of like how Gintama was. Like this stuff is anime to the 10th level, and I don't care if those wigs were bad. I loved them. I loved them so much because it was just like, when you stop and think about it, like, is Phoenix the same without that hair? Like, I feel like he has to have that hair to be Phoenix, right?
They're all like that.
I would be against this movie if he didn't have the hair.
Because usually what happens, if you haven't seen too many like live action anime adaptations, they'll just give them the same color hair. Or they won't give them the same color hair. They'll just use like Orihime in the Bleach live action. So that character is bright orange hair, but in the live action she just has brown hair. But they put the same clip she has in.
Yeah,
and a lot of it is like because they're trying to make it more like marketable as a live action movie. Whereas this, I feel like all of those characters and from the time period that they come from, I feel like they have to look that way. And I think it works. They
do, and that's what I think Takashi Miike does really well. Is like he leans in to the absurdity of the things when he needs to. Because like for this, he's like this is based on a game. People, let's be real about it. So he's just like we're gonna go lean straight into it. And there's parts where like there's this scene, and I think is utterly hilarious and is genius at the same time. Where because there's some aspects of it that has kind of like a film noir feel to it, like a old film noir detective film. And there's this scene where it's Phoenix, the cop, I can't remember the cop's name, the cop and Maya, and they're standing in this warehouse because they were looking for this guy. and they're in silhouette. So like they have the light outside, and they're in silhouette, and it's like the conversation is actually really serious, but it looks hilarious because you have the outline of their hair, and it's like, I can't take this serious because you're here, dude. It's like swooped on in the back and it's in shadow, and it's like, and I think it's an amazing shot because it's an intense conversation, but it's like his hair is in swoops, and that's all I kept thinking. I'm like, the swoops. but no, it's like he leaned all, like Takashi Miike like leaned all into it, and I'm like, bravo to you, sir.
Right. I definitely like that though. Like, as much as I was like joking about the wig earlier, I think it's just because like it took me a second to kind of like, okay, this is the character wig, but it's just because like I'm thinking like in real life, I don't know how or who cut your hairline like that, but you deserve a refund.
Yeah.
It's just, it is the widows, the double, the quadruple.
I think
widows.
it's quadruple or even like
But
what's five? Five is a...
It's just
quintuple.
It's a quintuple because
It's
he
like
has the main widow speaking.
Because you have the one in the middle and then the two at the sides.
Oh, that's right. Oh, it's just like, oh. But you know, he still look good. The actor's still look good.
I
It
would
works.
still hit that. So like, in
the
that wig.
Yeah, the actor's name is Hiroki Narimiya. He cute. Like, okay.
Yeah.
He cute. I looked him up immediately. I'm like, oh, he cute. This is great. But it's also like, so we're going to talk about wigs. Miles Edgeworth's wig, I just wanted to take off of his head. Even when they did the flashback scene of them being children.
His was pretty, his was a thing.
It was a problem. It was a very big problem. But, you know, there was an afro in this one.
That one was like, come on.
That was a lot. That afro was a lot.
I was like, why?
I'll leave it there. At least they gave her a headband. It was weird. It was a mess. But
it was literally like,
I got to talk about wigs.
Oh, yeah. Those were some wigs.
Yep. Sorry. Another thing I liked about like the movie overall that he did a really good job of including from the game and the series. So if you noticed, when either lawyer is making a really good point in the case, the other lawyer starts to sweat and gets disheveled, and they're like moving their hair and like getting stressed out. And the big court case, the climax with that man would keep pushing his hair back.
It was so good.
That was so good. It's the little things. Oh, and they did the anime faint or whatever, like the when everybody falls.
That had me because I was like, what is happening? Because
trope.
I was like, especially when he said something extremely stupid or asked a question that makes no sense, everybody would dodge it. They're like, I'm gonna miss that. Yes. Like, they're like, that's a stupid question. I'm avoiding it.
That made my day when he was just like, so after midnight on Christmas Day. So it was not Christmas Eve anymore. Just everybody, the judge, the prosecutor, everybody does it, and that's what makes it so good. So, this man does a great job of using tropes and like putting them into live action. So, as much as I give him flack for Yakuza Vampire, Yakuza Cop, whatever it's called at this point, I can't remember.
Yakuza Apocalypse.
It's so good. Yakuza Apocalypse. It should have just been called Yakuza Vampire. Just gonna leave it there, but it's fine. But yeah. So moving on from those characters, anyone else that y'all liked, or any other little things?
I like I said, like I really liked Mai's character. Like she wasn't a typical female trope because like you thought she would be there. Sorry, I know my video thing. You thought she would just be there to act as like not a foil, but like a hindrance, because sometimes in these like especially when I watch like certain animes, like those kind of female characters who are like the supportive characters, they act like all like what's the word I'm looking for, like very naive and like that kind of thing. And I thought that's what her
like ditzy.
Yeah, ditzy. Right. And I thought that's what her character was gonna be, but she wasn't. She was actually very smart. and she helped Phoenix a lot, and she would point out certain things, and he would listen, and and that's what I like. I like her character was smart, and she was allowed to show that she was smart, and she was observant, because she would notice things that he didn't notice, and she'd be like, this does not seem right. And he there are times he didn't listen, but then there are times he was like, okay, you know what, sound advice, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
I liked her too.
I think one of my favorite scenes, it's like really small and kind of insignificant, but it's when can't remember his name, his friends, when he gets off because they realize that there was a 14-hour time difference between New York and where
Larry
Yes. And when he like runs out, he's like, I'm free, and then like nobody cares, and he's like running up to the cameraman, and they're just like, look at me, and I was like, no, dude, go away, and I was like,
right,
I like this. That it was like a really small moment, but it was one that I think like really leaned into kind of like the absurdity of the world, while also like just showcasing. Sorry.
You're good.
And like showcase like the absurdity of the world while also like balancing out like what kind of characters are not against, but like what Phoenix exists in. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't know why that's one of my favorites, but
no, it's funny because it's just like Larry is just like so. What is the word? He's that friend. I'm just gonna say he's that friend everybody has when you got the friend that gets in trouble, but you know they didn't do it. But and then his whole reaction, and then like because like to your point, like the world they exist in, it's basically they live in this world where people are convinced that if you are on trial for a crime, you must have done it.
Yeah.
And that's not problematic at all. And even the cops, like, they were, like, kind of against Phoenix at the beginning. I'm like, what are you doing? They're the criminals. Obviously, you shouldn't, like, try to help them get free. And it's just, like, because you have to look at all the clues. And you have to listen to them and do all... So, it's just... Like you said, I like that scene because it's like, how people don't care.
Yeah.
They just always assume that they're the murderers or they're guilty. But it's also, Larry was really funny. Like, he had funny moments.
He did.
I liked it. Yeah. And then, let's see. Sorry, I have to, like, we have not had, like, no, we just did a review. So I'm remembering off the top of my head. So we've talked about the characters, the set design, the things we liked. What are some things we did not like, if there were any?
I think some of the dialogue was pretty wordy. But I mean, it's not like a huge critique or like even really that bad, just because like the type of movie that it is, like you expect it to be that way. But there were just some moments like in between. So I feel like in between the courtroom scenes, some of those moments dragged a little for me. But once you got into the courtroom, it was like, whew. Using a sound effect to explain a feeling because I can't use words. There was just tonally, there were some differences between when the court is taking place and outside of it, which is understandable and it makes sense. But it lost some of the cohesion for me in that. But it's not like it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah. I would agree because I don't think there's anything major. Like it is what it's supposed to be. It's an entertaining adaptation of a video game, and it like he did exactly what he set out to do. And
yep.
The things that we would normally complain about makes no sense complaining about because, like, again, based on a video game. And like, absurd is the world.
It's the style of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, like, it's supposed to be absurd.
Yeah.
And it's absurd done really well. That's the thing, right? So that it's not even the absurd done badly. It's, like, done really well. So, like, everything works. And, I can't think of anything that doesn't work for me. Like, all the characters work. I think we get to know each of them enough sufficiently to care about them. Like even like with Larry, like you can tell he's a smart person because he invents things, and like they end up like people make fun of them, but they end up needing to use his inventions to solve the cases, right? So that works. And I don't give it any. There's no major negatives for me, none that I can think of.
So my only thing was going into the movie when I saw the runtime was a little over 2 hours. I was like, oh, this is going to be long. But I retract that because how they did it, it does not feel like a 2-hour long movie.
Yeah.
It's like they cover 3 cases in the movie, and it doesn't feel super drawn out and long. And I say that as, like we talked about, The Blade of the Immortal is 3 hours long. That feels like a long movie. This does not feel that long once you get into it.
Or, what was it? Like, Gintama felt like I spent a whole ass day watching that.
Yep. That's a long movie. And it wasn't even that. It's probably around the same runtime as this movie. Yeah. But to your point about the dialogue, it's like, it really is like, once you get in the courtroom, the scenes are happening, things are happening so fast that I think I lost track of time. I'm like, oh, the movie's almost over. Dang. So it's pretty, I liked it for like, and same thing with like the absurdity stuff. It works for what he was going for to make it an adaptation. So
and
yeah, so that's,
and the thing is that and I actually wish they had done a sequel, because I would have loved to see Maya come back working with him at the law office. So that to me is definite positive, where I actually wanted them. I would have minded 10 more minutes, or even like a little like montage at the end showing her coming back and thing. So like that to me is what makes it success. That's where I'm like, I need to see what happens afterwards.
Yeah. Because if you want to go back into that world, you know that the job was done with that movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say I did look up other anime movies that Takashi Miike did, and we already said we weren't going to watch Terraformers, but he did do that one.
Oh,
We're not going to do that one. I understand.
That's right.
But he also does one called As the Gods Will, which is high school horror. And then I did not know. So I knew Ichi the Killer was a manga. I didn't know Ichi the Killer is an anime. So now I have a reason to make us watch Ichi the Killer on this podcast.
No, I'm fine with that. I can do this.
He's done.
I'm fine.
Takashi Miike has done a lot of like anime adaptations or like manga adaptations. Like you can, and I think I think that's probably why Ace works so well, is because he loves the material. And because he's done so many of them, like I would just guess that he knows the type of adaptation that it takes, like where to bring out pieces of it that are very, very anime, and where to like work it narratively to be like a feature. Like that's not something that's extremely easy, and that's something that we've had critiqued on a lot of the anime or the live actions that we've talked about. So
yeah. Because I think a big challenge with all this stuff, like as we've like, I've lost track. We're maybe at episode 27. We're approaching episode 30.
28?
I know we're in the upper 20s. 28?
28. Okay. 28 or 27. It might be 27 actually.
Yeah. So point is, we've been doing this for over a year now. And like we've watched a bunch of things, but that is like a big critique of just like the challenge of taking the source material and then putting it with live actual people is a huge challenge, because I think so many people get caught up in trying to ground it, like grounding the characters, grounding the world. Instead,
like
there's
Death
times
Note.
when you need to write that piece of crap we will never watch again. But it's like, there's just no reason to, like with the example of Death Note, there's no reason to ground it. There's no reason to act like it is fine the way it was presented. There's no reason to like do all this extra stuff that makes it more absurd. Whereas like Phoenix Wright, like Ace Attorney does a really great job of leaning into the world and building upon it in a live action. I mean, and also the Lupin the Third movie that we watched. The live action for that, which Carolyn, I think you would love that a lot, just because like I know how much you love K-dramas. I think you would love to Lupin the Third movie. Yeah. But they take they lean into the world of Lupin, but they adjust it and bring it to like the modern world, like to our day and age now, and it works for them. And it's not that hard. Like, he still has gadgets, he still does all this stuff. So same thing with this, is like sometimes people just have to know when to lean more into the absurdity, into the tropes, and when not to ground things so much. Bleach, I think, did a decent job. I just wish they hadn't changed so much with some of the characters.
No, you see, now you're saying that because that's one of the reasons I think I love K-dramas so much.
Miki knows the shit. and he can keep. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, you froze.
Oh,
and
sorry.
So I didn't mean to talk over
okay.
you. You just froze.
Oh, sorry. No, I would say I think that's one of the reasons I love K-dramas so much is when there's K-dramas that are especially the ones based on webtoons and mangas, like they lean into certain aspects of it, like certain like one that we talked about this before the podcast where like in shows like in Black and Stronger Du Bon Soon.
Memories of
and some of the other ones where like there's like aspects where like you hear like the sound effects, so you see like literal emojis pop up on the screen because that's how it would have been in like mangas and stuff. Like they lean into that. They're like, we know this is based on a manga. We know this is based on a webtoon. There's certain things that happen that we will acknowledge and say, remind you, this is not based on reality. So you have like literal emojis pop up on screen, or like dogs barking or like those kind of stuff, and you're like. And like it seemed absurd at first, but you're like, this makes sense because this is based on this reality, and this is based on this world, right? So like I think that's one of the reasons I love K-dramas and stuff. Like they're not afraid to lean into certain things that I think a lot of Western creators are afraid to do. Like there's one that I watched recently called Be Melodramatic, and the way they break the fourth wall in this show. Like you have the characters talking to you, but then there's like they talk about promotion. Like we know that K-dramas especially are known for product placement, and they legit wrote the product placements into the script, and they're like telling you, yes, we know we're advertising this product, and we're doing it because we have to pay the bills so we can make this show and scene back into that, and then like back, and like I love that kind of stuff, right? So it's like I just love it. So I think, and that's what I love about Ace Attorney is like we're in this world, we acknowledge it, let's not pretend it's not something that it isn't.
Yeah, I think for everything that Carolyn said and for everything that Nisha said, I think that's why when we look back at the people who have directed a lot of the live actions that we've liked here, we're going to find that they're probably going to be the Japanese directed ones, or they are the Japanese directed ones. And they're the ones that have done multiples. And I think it's because they love it and they know what to do there. And they're not afraid to do it. And I could definitely see somebody coming in and being like, and this may just be like a Western mentality too, because you see it happen a lot in comic book movies. You're like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to elevate this thing. And I'm like, no, honey, don't elevate it. Just do the thing. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, I hate when they talk about elevated. Like, you're like, because I was going to also talk, because you talked about it, is like, the comic book adaptation that we're getting now with Marvel. I love the MCU, but then there's times where they take things too serious and they're trying to be all too dramatic. And that's why I think Thor Ragnarok is probably the better adaptation, let's be real, of all of the films. Like the other films are great, like story-wise and stuff, but like Taika Waititi, he leans into the absurdity of the fact that these are characters and this is a film based on comic book characters. Like you have Meek, who's a talking pile of rocks, and like, Meek isn't. What is Meek? We don't know what Meek is, but you have
Meek
is a larva. I think he's like overgrown larva or something. And then there's the one that the literal pile of rocks that Waititi voiced, Korg, and he's like, I'm a pile of rocks. Like we're not. Why are we gonna try to make this is too serious? And they're like, and he's like, there's aliens in space. Right, and he like leans into that, and I think that's why I think Taika's take on adaptations works so well, because like Takashi Miike and a lot of these other Japanese directors, and I would say probably a few Korean directors too, they're like, they don't try to, as you say, elevate it. They're not trying to be all bourgeoisie with it, and they're like, no, it's a film about people that are drawn on paper.
Yeah.
You're right. Which, fun fact, is why I really do hope if we are getting an Akira live action adaptation, I
hope Taika stays attached.
We shall see. Because I think they're having problems with it, right? They're having production problems.
So they don't have problems. Yeah. He's gonna do it, and everything's lined up to do it. He got tapped for Thor 3 or Thor 4, and so he had to shuffle that ahead. And so it got pushed back.
Yeah, because some of the stuff that we were seeing about the Akira, like what they were talking about changing some of the like locations. People are like, why would you take it out of Japan? And we were
yeah,
like,
so it was one of those where that it wasn't, so the first things that were getting talked, so like Akira is a movie that has been talked about getting live action remade since like 2000 and like mid 2000s. It's been a thing for like forever, and like different people keep buying the rights and keep trying to do different stuff with it. And so the one that Taika signed on to, it was said that it was going to be essentially inspired by Akira. So like everything that happens in Akira, but like somewhere else. But it's real weird. And then and then it's also real weird too, because a lot of the original creators want that to happen. So it's happening with Your Name right now as well. Where like the creators of the properties want their properties not to be directly remade, but to be like rebooted in a way that is specific to the area that's making them. So it turns into like this really like convoluted mess of a discussion with what's happening with things. But like, in all honesty, I will believe that Akira is going to be a live action movie when it opens, because I've heard too much about that movie for forever. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I believe it when I see it.
It's like Kingdom Hearts 3.
Taika does it. Yup. I don't believe it until I see it in my hand. So until they put it on Netflix, Hulu, wherever it's going to be, I'll wait patiently. But I'm not going to put too much hope into it until we see a trailer.
Yeah.
Then an actual trailer with an announcement and a date.
Yeah, because it's also like that happened to Alita for a really long time too. And then I think like right now, like I think Tiger and Bunny is like gonna be a live action, and I know Voltron is up there as well, but like there is so much.
And then the talks of
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. It's the talks of My Hero Academia getting a like the American studio doing it, which I'm just like, yeah.
To be fair, having watched as many live actions that we have watched, almost every single live action that we have watched has come from an American studio. Lionsgate and WB have been the studios behind Rurouni Kenshin, Full Metal Alchemist, and there were two others that we watched that we actually liked that they were behind.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not so much the studio that I'm worried about. It's going to be the
writers and the director.
Who is gonna do it?
Yeah.
And like if it's gonna be like, if you get like someone who's gonna be like this director for Ace Attorney who cares about the source material, and like if it's something that's based on it, that's one thing, but don't change up and like call quirks a completely different power.
Yeah, like it has to be a
take
respect.
Out All Might.
There has to be a respect for the material.
That's it, and that's all I'm saying. Like, don't do a Death Note.
Yeah,
with it. That's like, just don't do Death Note. But.
That's fair.
Because the problem is they're trying to appeal. I'll be completely honest here. They're trying to appeal to white American audiences, completely forgetting that these properties have fans of all races all over the world, and that's who they should be trying to appeal to. So that's why they should be like honoring the source material instead of trying to appeal to a certain demographic because they want it to be marketable.
Well, I think they also are trying to appeal to an audience of like the broader audience of like people who aren't familiar with the source material too, which is like sometimes you don't have to do
because like we talked about it with Death Note, like Japanese storytelling, especially around shonen, is completely different than Western storytelling. So whenever a Western piece, whether they're like, doesn't matter what they are, if they're just Western and like not okay, like how do I say it? Western storytelling is about the underdog. Japanese storytelling is about somebody who has all of the power and has to learn how to manage it. And those are two very different ideas of a story that don't mesh. And so that is something that in live action, especially when like American studios do it, they're trying to map this the Japanese storytelling into the American context, and they shift it to where they make somebody an undergod, or like in Death Note's case, they make Light like empathetic, and Light isn't empathetic. Light is a sociopath. He's
not.
And like
he's a sociopath.
Japan isn't afraid of doing that. Like their main character is a sociopath that you hate.
But that's an American.
That's what it's supposed to be.
But I think that's an American, especially if it's something adapted by white men. They try to make the villains sympathetic. Usually all the time, like I would say like 80% of the time.
Well, but
and
that's
it's like,
the thing though.
And
so
that's
like,
the problem where it's like and that's the thing what I love about Asian film, especially in general, is like unless it's for specific reasons, they're like the villain is the villain, and you're meant to hate his guts. You're not meant to empathize with him. And like they don't, like, every villain doesn't have a tragic backstory. They're like, this person is a Yakuza because sometimes it has, like, because for a certain reason, or this and this, they're like, I straight up evil, and that's fine. Like, you can have things, but where you have, like, for Western films, like, especially with those kind of, they're trying to create sympathy for the devil, basically, and it's like, you don't need that to make a compelling story. Most often than not, a compelling villain is the one where you don't need to try to understand. He's just straight up evil. Like, his ass needs to go. Like, take him out, right?
And I think it gets hard. When you look at something like Death Note, is like, and at least like, listen, I think Adam Wingard did it. In one of his interviews, he was talking about, like, they didn't know how to essentially make, because it was a Netflix film, they didn't know how to make the main character be that bad. Like, they're scared to. Like, American studios are scared to just make your lead character, because your lead, like, it's not even like the lead character is a villain, it's just the lead character is just a bad guy.
Yeah, anti-hero.
And they didn't want to do that. But the one thing that I do think My Hero Academia has going in its favor is Deku is actually based on Spider-Man. And all of My Hero Academia lore is based on American stories.
Oh, okay.
All of
so
it.
that would make sense.
Every single piece of it is based on American comic books, because something that a lot of people don't understand is that the superhero genre that we know, the comic based, that is a predominantly American phenomenon, in that other places have comics, but they don't look like our storytelling until like 2005 is when it starts to delineate. When I saw that work in my master's. And that's when you start to see like the things that like replicate it. But it was very much an American concept, and the creator of My Hero Academia was so, like, his favorite hero is Spider-Man. And so when he went to go write a shonen, he was like, I don't want this to be a typical shonen. I want this to be a Spider-Man shonen. And so he created a world that was deeply, deeply, deeply grounded in the American mythos and like how we view heroes. There's still elements like the sports tournament, because there always has to be a school festival in like Japanese anime, but like that is one thing that I do think My Hero has going for it, or potentially.
I have faith in it being in American Studios' hands. It's just about, like, I don't want nobody to change.
If they take out All Might, I'm done. Like, you can't take out All Might.
You can't. I'm done. I'm not going to hear that, oh, All Might died 5 years ago. Hi. Here we are now. Like, okay, sorry. We're going to go down the spiral, and Carolyn, I know you got to get to your live tweet.
Yeah,
so.
This is fine. I'm listening because this is
crazy,
interesting for me. You know, all this stuff is always interesting to me. So, like, I'm learning. Like, I know about My Hero Academia. I think I've seen, like, one episode. But, yeah, so it's interesting to hear he's based on an American character, and that would actually kind of make sense, because Japanese have a very deep fascination with Western culture, especially Western American culture, and like a lot of their like manga characters, for goodness sakes, a lot of them are based on European and Western ideals of beauty, you know, so or exaggerated, I should say, Western ideals of beauty. So that's why some things I think it's fine that the studio does it, but as we said, it's all about who the writer and the director is, because it's all about interpretation, right? But the other thing is sometimes there's a lot of cultural nuances that they lose when American studios, or I should say white creators lose when they try to do adaptations, which is why I will forever be against an adaptation of Strong Woman Do Bansu or Train to Busan, because like there's so much context in those stories that like when you hear about the things they want to do, like that's not the point. You're missing the whole point of it all.
Yeah. I think everyone on Twitter who knows us knows how we all three of us feel about Train to Busan.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pretend the American one will never exist in my brain, and I will only refer to the original.
Part 2 is coming out next year.
That's how I'm processing.
So, it's called
finally.
It's called Bando, which is a Korean word for a peninsula, because this part is going to take place close to the coastline. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I think that's also one of the reasons why I'm excited for the Cowboy Bebop live action too, is because as much as that, like, that is a Japanese anime, it's heavily influenced by American music, like
Jazz.
from start to finish. And it's a multicultural world, which is one of the reasons why I was really excited when they announced the cast. And you have a Latino directing 2 episodes at least, which I think I know which episodes they are.
Oh, I hope.
Right?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh, because like there are these pieces in Cowboy Bebop where they go to different areas that are obviously like have a certain culture to them. So like it's if they're doing like because it's a mini series, they're doing a condensed piece. Like I can see what those 2 might be.
Well,
yeah,
So.
I'm just like
they have
so
more time
hyped.
to work out any
Can't
kinks
wait for
that
them.
may have arisen. So, unfortunately, because our poor John Cho got hurt, speedy and safe recovery to him.
Feel better, John
I hope
Cho.
he takes his time to heal fully.
7 months.
I think it's an ACL injury. Those are not to be taken lightly.
Those take.
Well, I've had 2 of those. They ain't fun.
Nope.
So he can rest up. They can postpone it for a year. I can wait.
I want him to recover fully, be healed,
We
come
can
back in
wait.
tip-top shape, and it also gives them time to work out any kinks where they can look back and say, you know what we were gonna do is not that bad, not that good idea. So let's change it up a bit, which I hope they do. So yeah.
As long as he can come back and and be okay, and they better not recast him because I want to see him.
I don't think
doing
they
that.
will.
They can't.
So I don't think
dance.
they will, just because the
they won't.
because like the good thing is, and this is the other thing that has going for it, is the showrunner. He's not directing anything, but the showrunner is the creator of Cowboy himself. So like that's gonna help guide a lot of the process. But like the only director they have announced, he's also doing episodes of The Witcher. He did episodes of Daredevil and episodes of The Punisher. So like,
I have faith.
yes,
I believe.
Keep hope alive.
Yeah.
Keep hope
They
alive.
got it. So
yes,
they got
entirely.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
so excited.
thank you so much for
So,
joining
if
us,
you-
Carolyn. This was great.
No problem. As fun as
Yeah,
always.
it's
You know
awesome.
me.
So if no one has any other objections,
No objections.
yes, yay. Let's do our rates for the movie. Like, what would you guys? So, Carolyn, to explain the ratings for you and for any new listeners, the ratings we rate movies or any piece that we've reviewed from the least being good, like a 0 is perfect, to 10 or more being blackout drunk. So, not saying that you actually had to be drinking at the time if you watched it or not, because I don't think me and Kate gave you the instruction, but typically when we watch these movies, we joke about saying, I had to have like 5 shots in order to get through this movie.
Yeah, because usually
So-
they're really bad.
Very.
And so we decided to
Atrociously
choose a
bad.
rating scale that was like, how drunk do I have to be to watch this movie again?
Sorry, I'm here talking to you. I'm multitasking because I'm here watching Fury so that I
Nah,
can get
you're
caught
good.
up when we start the live tweet. Because a guy's hand just got chopped. I'm like, oh my god.
You a multitasking
Yeah.
girl. So for me, I will say my rating, I will give this a 0. I'm gonna say it. Only other movie I've ever given something a 0 still, I think, is the Lupin the Third live
It
action
is.
adaptation. Yep. And it's still
That
because
tracks.
they do an amazing job of capturing the world from the video game to the anime to live action. And I think it's just really well done. I can't really fault it for anything.
Yeah, no, I would give it a 0.
me.
Like, and you don't need to drink anything. If you feel like drinking something, some soda or some sparkling cider would be enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give it a 0 too. That it was good. It was fun. It was like I would gladly watch it again. I would actually use this to introduce people to Phoenix Wright. If there were American
That would be a
copies of the film
great-
available. But there aren't.
True. There are not. Because
Region
mind.
locks.
don't worry about. Yep. Don't worry about how we watched it. Anywho, with that, Carolyn, can you tell the people where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CarrieCNH12, CARIE. Wait, I'm forgetting an R. CARRIECNH12. And on Instagram, I co-host So Here's What Happened with Lanisha. I also co-host weekly live tweet called Saturday Night Sci-Fi every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. We live tweet certain sci-fi shows, anime, films, TV shows from all over the world. You can read my film reviews on But Why Though, podcast.com, Atom Tickets, Comics Beat, a whole bunch of other sites. And yeah, you hit me up on Twitter. Like Lanisha says, we talk about thirsting. I talk about K-dramas, K-pop, films, TVs, anything, basically.
Nice.
And you can find the podcast at DYHD_pod. It is where we're kind of active. We're trying to get better. Hit us up. Talk to us. Recommend movies for us because finding these live action adaptations are rough. So let us know which ones you've liked. Let us know which ones you've hated. We are at 700 something followers now, so we have to watch Atla at some point.
Yeah.
We did this to ourselves.
Wow.
So that will be coming.
Do we have to?
Did we have to? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess, well, the thing is, we also have to watch Ghost in the Shell.
Oh my God, no.
Oh, yeah, that's
Why?
right.
Because
The
we
live
love to
adaptation or
punish
the
ourselves here.
anime? Because I like
Adaptation.
I like
The
anime,
adaptation. But see, that's why we made the goal so high. Like, in order to watch that movie,
would
we'd
you
have
do
to
that
get
to yourself?
750 followers. We're not putting ourselves through this for free.
Yep. And the
Not that we get
The
paid.
Last Airbender was awful, so we got to watch that. We watched Death Note for 250, I think.
Yeah.
When we hit 250,
Should have made
which
that
was
higher.
oh so bad. And then we started
Very bad.
episode 1 with Dragon Ball Evolution. So like this all tracks for how bad we have to watch these things.
The grandfather, the blueprint of terrible live action adaptations.
Yep.
Because that's how me and Kate birthed this show, when we both said how bad that movie was and we decided to do a podcast.
Yep.
That's our origin story. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention myself. You guys can also find me at LA_NEY_SHA. Yeah, everything they said. I like to thirst talk things on Twitter, if that's a thing. I'm a thirst fluencer. I'm gonna claim that. But yeah, just engage with us on either of our podcast I can't talk. Twitter handles.
And I didn't say where you could find me, but you can find me at Oh My Myth Randier.
Oh, my bad, Kate.
Where I just
My
yell about
bad.
horror and why Oscar Isaac should play every Universal monster in existence. That's where I'm at.
And Mr. Miracle.
And Mr. Miracle.
Sorry.
Yes. Scot-free.
Yes, but you're doing the good work, Kate, because that is something that we all need to see, and he should be a vampire at some point.
He should.
But so Carolyn, just to give you a heads up, so the way we sign off on the show here is: are you familiar with Dragon Ball Z?
A little bit. Yeah, I have. I used to watch it back in the day.
So
I haven't watched
usually-
any. I don't know much about the newer stuff.
Yeah, so how the narrator would do next time on that voice, I usually do the sign off. So I just wanted to give you a heads up, so if you thought that was weird or out of place when I started doing it. So, anyways, I'm leaving this all in because visibility. Anywho, will Kate continue to ship me with Dimple?
I gotta see who this Dimple is.
She's
I
not
gotta.
even
I
her.
gotta.
No, you don't.
No, this is the
No,
slimy
you
ghost
don't.
you were talking about.
Will I ever get sick of saying objection?
No.
And will Kate finish watching The Promised Neverland before 2020? Find out next time on Did You Have To? Bye.
Bye.
Cool. I am sending you a picture in our